Well, this morning is going to be a sermon that's a little different as we're in between our chapters, and I finally got around to kind of getting my stuff together to talk about the high points of kind of all aspects of the Honduras mission this year, and so this is going to be a little bit different of a lesson. The front part of it is going to be just giving you a quick kind of overview. I guess it's the first 3 quarters. And the last part of it, I'm going to preach to you a little bit. So let me just kind of go over the trip. That's kind of what the first part's going to be. And talk a little bit about, our team starting out. And here's our team as we started out from Wichita, heading to Houston to meet up with our other half of our team, which half of our team coming from our church, the other half coming from the Park Church in Tulsa. And so there we are very early in the morning at Wichita. And then we met with our group, our other half of our group in Houston. And then our next picture that we took was there at the after we landed in Honduras. Of course, we got a couple others added here. Our Predisan workers, this is Angel, and this is our trip coordinator, Johnny. Angel is our one of our drivers. He wasn't actually a driver he wasn't with us during the work week this year, though we've had him in the past. But he did drive us the 5.5 hours across the country. But that's all. This is always the biggest sigh of relief I breathe is once we land there, like all of the hard logistics that we fought for leading up to that moment have finally happened. And I feel like, okay, the trip's actually going to happen once we make it to the country. But that's the hardest part. And of course, it's funny, all the different little weird parts of the process. And being there, getting through that airport, getting through their version of customs, they've basically made it these days where you can't go through customs without some form of an iPhone, because they don't have paper forms anymore. You have to scan the forms. You have to scan this thing with your phone and then go through one of the most irritating electronic processes you can imagine, trying to answer questions that don't make any sense in the way that they're worded because there's a breakdown in the from English to Spanish, only to get through to a window where you're kind of on a small level interrogated by a customs guy or gal over all the information you've given, which really doesn't make any difference whatsoever. Now, some people in our group go through that without any kind of complaint, and there's one particular person in our group that throws a fit about it every single year, and you're looking at him. And Rex usually has some words of comfort for me in those moments, like, take a breath, calm down, Wes. We're going to make it through. It's all going to be all right. I don't know why that process infuriates me so much. It just does. I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. Our team, we part of being a part of the team is it's very easy on this trip to kind of if we don't hold everyone together at all times, it's kind of easy for our group to kind of branch out away from one another, especially at mealtime. So one thing that we always try to keep as a focus of our trip is making sure that we have all 12 people all together to have our meals together as part of our team building experience. And we talk about different things of the trip. We also have a devotional every day from a different member of our team, and but we start building that camaraderie with one another there. And this is Sunday morning. We've gone all the way to Sunday morning. We're in Catacombs at this point, about to head out to the church, about to get in the 4-wheel drives and head to worship. Worship experience like some of us have had before, but we had new people on the trip as well this year. So you get to go, and here's a guest speaker at Cristobal's church. A very dynamic speaker. I can tell that by watching him, though I can't understand a word that he says. But it's really interesting being in a worship service. the worst part about it is they reserve seats for us at the very front of the church. You know, it's no different there than it is here. All the front seats are open for the most part, and but they put us there, and we can't understand the language though. So it's basically a battle to stay awake because sitting in a nice warm church and not understanding the language and being exhausted and having jet lag and then having to stay awake, let me tell you, it is a struggle. So we do creative things like take selfies, which I hope doesn't distract the minister too much, but they know we can't understand them anyway. There we are on our. There's just a few of us, me and the girls on one side of the church, and all of our other group got separated from us on the other side. I didn't take a picture of them. Rex, I kind of, when Cristobal asked for someone from our group to go up, I kind of just, for the fun of it, said, "You do that, Rex." And Rex was very gracious and went and spoke before the church that morning. We did have some things to present to them that our church bought for their in addition to the worship service. The 4 people you see on stage with Rex there are the graduates of their ministry training program that Cristobal heads up with several other leaders there in the country. And these were the 4 graduates. I don't have a picture of me doing this, but I presented them with all of their diplomas. Rex presented them with gifts from our church. You see them holding those messenger bags. We bought them those messenger bags. Those are waterproof messenger bags, which is important in Honduras because if you do your ministry, you're going to be doing it in the rain. Waterproof messenger bags. We got them Bible dictionaries. We got them a nice copy of the Bible that they like, and some other stuff there as well. But Rex got to present those to the group. Then there's our missionary Cristobal. For those of you who don't know him, no, he's not from the United States. And though he is very white, he's not a white guy. He's just the very rare species of red-headed Honduran. So there he is with us, and it's always a wonderful reunion to see Cristobal. Next, we move on to our project. The worship part, the whole trip feels like a worship to me. Then we move to our project, which just continues that. Here's the construction project aspect. We had 4 toilets that were out of commission. They said 1 toilet still worked, but by worked they mean that they yanked a toilet off of the slab, and there was a 4-inch piece of PVC pipe on the ground that you could go to the bathroom into and then pour water down the pipe to run it to the septic tank, which also was having problems. So the transformation went from this to this. Part of what we paid for was to put a new roof, replace all the tin, which that tin, it doesn't last very long down there. You're good to get about 10 years out of it before it has to be replaced again. So we replaced the tin. They sanded, mudded, smoothed out the walls of the restrooms out there, replaced all 4 of the toilets with working toilets, worked on the septic system. Here's the back side of it. In the middle section there, we also fixed their broken, they call it a pilar. It's their water basin where people from the village come that don't have one at their home come to wash their clothing. And this is directly behind the schoolhouse. So let me tell you, when you've got a village full of people that don't have toilets for a long time, and you bestow upon them 4 working toilets, that is a bunch of happy people, okay? It's one of those things that's just outside of our imagination. I try to think about stuff like that while I'm there, and I thought, imagine at the house I'm at now, or just right outside of town. I don't want to get too graphic with you or anything, but imagine I have to go to the bathroom. Wake up in the morning and I've got to go. Or here's the worst part: wake up in the middle of the night and I've got to go. Do I have any more of those people? No, no. You don't have to raise your hand. But yeah, I get up multiple times now, going to the restroom, and imagine having to leave your home to go outside and not just go to a toilet outside, but to have to like walk out. Like I'd have to go out into the pasture behind my house or something. Like, what a weird thing that would be. But this is a reality for the people that live there. So the toilets are very much appreciated. Of course, it was all painted after it was mudded and sanded, and everything was fixed on that facility, brought it up to snuff. The next thing we did, construction-wise, is we installed right outside of their school, attached to the school is a cooking area where there's a program there in the country that feeds all the kids in the schools now. It's a brand new thing, but the kids get to eat a meal every day at the school. Now, in the first many years I went, they didn't. They actually had to let out school a little early so the kids could go home and eat because they didn't have anything for them at the school. But now they at least get a meal every day at the school. And what we did is we installed this. We bought and installed this outside sink and ran the water. See what you see there with the pipe. This was their porch and walkway, and we had to bust up their walkway there to install the pipe, and then we had to put cement on top of that. I don't know if I put an extra pick. Yeah, we cemented over that. It doesn't look very good right there, but then we smoothed it all out. Got everything hooked up, and it's amazing. No sooner did we say that it was done and had it all hooked up than those ladies that prepare that meal every day were immediately using that sink. I mean, they were all just straddling that wet cement. And as I was looking at that wet cement, I thought, what's going to keep a kid from walking over there and just walking right through it? And about the time I had that thought, here comes a kid, and he just walked straight into that wet cement and sunk into it. And so everyone was as they were brainstorming of how can we prevent this happening again, and they smoothed that out, another kid walked by and stepped in it again. These are just the little things I enjoy. The other part of outside of our work project part of the trip, which is a big deal to the community there, is our soccer clinic that my buddy Weston, he'll be here with you in a couple weeks to preach for you, and I'm sure to tell you more. But Weston they split the classes in half, the classroom of kids in half. Part are inside with Rex, the other half go out with Weston, and then they switch at some point during the day. And but Weston is out there teaching the kids all the soccer balls you see provided by our church that we bought and deflated and hauled over there. Of course, they all have to be reinflated once we get there. So there's their soccer pitch area. You roughly see their goalpost here. This is typically in most villages is just made up of 3 sticks. 2 stuck in the ground and 1 stuck across the top, and that's their goalpost. They even got knocked off a few times, and they had to fix it. But Weston does their soccer clinic, but also teaches them Christian principles and Christian lessons along the way as he does that, just like he does back home in Tulsa with his football club that he runs there. Then the third kind of head to our mission is the classroom work, which Rex has taken over. I think we can safely say that now, and yeah, not by necessarily his choice, but he's kind of pushed into that. But Rex does a fantastic job. One of the things we do that may seem like a small thing to us, but which is invaluable to them, is teaches those kids some basic English. It's amazing the amount of opportunities that you have the more English that you know in a place like Honduras. If you know a little bit of English, even if it's just enough to communicate a little bit, that opens you up to many jobs that you could not have if you did not know English. So it's valued as a very, very high commodity, being able to know and understand some English. It's really fun listening to Rex teach those kids and how fast they pick up on it as well. And to hear them yelling English phrases back at Rex is pretty fun. Of course, there's a picture of a little girl there. This was actually this little girl had a twin sister there in the village as well, but got a picture of her looking back. There's all the kids together with our group in the back of the classroom. You can see the windows. The classrooms are dark. They don't have lights there, so they just have these open grated window systems where can be very hot unless there's a breeze blowing. But it's shaded, but it's also, you walk into a classroom, and the first thing I always think when I walk in is, it's dark in here. It's just dark in buildings there in general without electricity, without lights. But those are it was a bigger school compared to a lot that we've had in the past. The kids all very, very excited about us being there. There's lots of friendships that are made along the way, some just for the week and some over time. Here are, now those are not headphones that those girls are wearing. Those are Raleigh and Aralai's neck fans that those girls were wearing as headphones. And those girls, they basically followed y'all around all the time, didn't they? Yeah, I mean, yeah. Aralai, like those girls were just like stuck to them every step that they took. My next picture is my very favorite picture. There's always a picture from every year. This being my 10th trip to go there, there's always one picture from every single year that I remember. When I see that picture, it brings me back to that particular year. And this next picture is the one that I'll always remember as my favorite one from the trip, is when Raleigh and Aralai went and stole some twin baby boys. And I don't know what they did with them, but they ended up going up to these kids' house, or this kid's house, and the people there, they just brought out these babies and handed them to them. But yes, the babies there are just like babies anywhere else, super cute, cuddly, and it's super hot there though. You hold a baby for any amount of time, you just get drenched in sweat. But that's not any different for me anywhere. But this will always be my favorite picture from the trip. Other friendships that that I forged the very first year that I went to Honduras. Did not expect that to bring up a lot of emotion in me all of a sudden, but you've seen these guys' pictures before. Of course, my good friend Melvin here and his brother Jose. They've got a couple other brothers that I have a relationship with that are currently working in the New England part of the United States. A couple brothers are here in the States. These guys, when I've asked them about are they ever going to do like their brothers did, they say no way. Like we do not believe that grass is greener somewhere else. Like we like what we've got here. We like our situation here. We don't have any interest in leaving. But they love to come and work with us every year. And I feel like their mission is to make sure that I don't get hurt. They have somehow got it in their head that I'm fragile, and it's probably accurate. But they look out for me on the work site, and every time I try to do something, they try to take it away from me as fast as they can. But I love and appreciate those boys. Like I said, I've known Melvin longer than Jose, but I've known Melvin for, I met him the first time 12, 13 years ago. And he was just a little kid. Predisan, You've heard that word before. That's that combination of those two Spanish words into a made-up word that they made up. The combination of to preach and to heal. They took the combination of those words that mean those things and put them together, and you've got Predisan, which we're the only group that works with Predisan that is not a medical mission group. They're used to a whole bunch of recent campaigns that they've had. They'll have eye doctors come and go to a village, and they'll have, hundreds of people signed up for cataract surgery. And they'll do nothing but cataract surgeries all day long for a week. Or they'll bring a group of dentists will come over to them, and they'll do nothing but work on people's teeth for a week. And so they've got different I think they call them campaigns. Is that what they call them, Rex? They had a certain word for it. I can't remember what the word is. I think they call them campaigns, medical campaigns, where they advertise and they get the word out to these communities. Then people just come from all over to have medical work done that doesn't cost them anything, which is invaluable to them just like it is to us. And but we're the unusual group in that our work is completely different. But we go through this medical mission organization. They provide for us our means of our transportation, all of our hotel accommodations. They make sure 100% of our meals are lined out and ready to go, part of the service that we pay for. We have a group coordinator who helps us with any issues that come up. His name is Johnny. We have multiple, they always provide us a couple drivers and a couple translators, which are invaluable to us as well. So the work that we do, would not be possible without going through a medical mission organization like Predisan. And so we're very grateful to them. They gave us this lady here gave us a tour of their new facility there. They've kind of turned their hospital has kind of been taken over by their government, and they had to do a lot of things to be nationally recognized and completely up to snuff with all of their codes and regulations and everything. And this lady here is a doctor who gave our group a tour through all of their new facilities and showed us all the new work that they're doing there. And from there, we went to another facility, which was kind of out in the country a little bit, just kind of right on the outskirts of the city of Catacamas, where they have a drug and alcohol rehab facility that is run by Predisan that people live at for a certain amount of time as part of their recovery process. And it was really neat to go and visit them, for me to share with them that, in my own personal revival in my life, when the Lord called me back, that came through the doors of recovery ministry as well, and I got to share my story with them a little bit and how much I appreciated the good work they were doing there. We got to meet some of the people that were in the rehabilitation process there who, at first I thought, oh man, I don't know if these people are going to want us to see them, but they were all super happy to see us. I don't know why, but they just were. So they were just happy to see us there and to greet us. So that was a neat part of the process as well. They always want to give us, they thank us profusely, while we're there, to the point, to me, to the point of embarrassment. And it is nice to know when you are appreciated. They always say, really stress this to your people back home, because we know that you all are just the face of a lot of people behind you as well. So the village always goes above and beyond as much as they can, even building a balloon trellis type thing and making big signs to say thank you, back to us and how much they appreciate. One of the leaders from their village will always speak and give a big thank you to us as well. Rex always gives a speech now to the village that he's written out and practiced in Spanish, so he speaks Rex gives the speech in Spanish, and the interpreters have to tell us what Rex said. Which is nice, and they always appreciate the effort that he puts into that. See, not only do we take all those soccer balls too we give all kinds of little stuff away, and people in our group bring all kinds of stuff. Tyler's not with us here this morning, but Tyler brought these big safari hats that he gave out to all the men in the village. Rex always finds all kinds of deals on bargain shirts at Walmart when they go on sale. It was funny, Rex this year had a ton of these flannel shirts. You think if there's any place on earth that a person would not want a flannel shirt, it would be the jungle of Honduras. But they went nuts over those flannel shirts. They were wearing them immediately. And but different people bring different things. We provide these soccer balls. We give that to those kids at the end of the week. And such a touching thing to give a kid a soccer ball and to be told that that's the best gift they've ever had in their life, you know. And we always joke that as soon as we leave, because the adults are just as crazy about playing as we are, the adults take all their balls away and play with them. But we bring plenty to give to give to other people as well. But no, those kids are always over the moon happy, which is my favorite part of the trip. This is a picture that Cristobal wanted to take. You see, there's Cristobal over here, and there's his wife, Elita. And this is after Wednesday night church. And what you see in the background here, this building structure, is the kitchen that we bought and paid for the church there. Some of us got to work on some of the slab and stuff in there. You can't. It's a shame, kind of in the picture, we got all the people there wanting to say thank you to the church. You can't see all the kitchen facility and stuff behind it, but they've built a giant kitchen facility. They said we feed that village every week, but they used to work in basically a little room that looked like it was just a shack, a very small, super hot shack. And now they've got this huge, they've got tables all around that room. They've got lots of cooking facilities set up. They've got a ministry team of people that is their mission every Sunday, the ministry that they have taken on to cook this massive meal that feeds well over 100 people every single Sunday. And that's one of the things that, and I've shared it with you before, but that's one of the things that I am very most proud of that we do, is we feed that entire village every Sunday. You can imagine, now, when you start off with a church of around 35 to 40 faithful believers, you add, hey, but if you come to church, you'll get fed. Now we have over 100 members at the church. But along the way, so are some of the people just coming for the food? Sure they are. But do you know how many new Christians have emerged because of that meal that is fed on Sunday? Many. And Cristobal loves to tell me about that. They come for a meal, they leave with Jesus. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. One of my favorite, not new verses, but one of the verses that has come to my mind so much more often recently than it ever has before. Then I just keep coming back to it over and over, and that happens sometimes in ministry, is you get hung up on a verse, and this is the one. To me, the work that we do is all about living the new commandment. And in John chapter 13, verse 34, Jesus said this to his disciples: "A new commandment I give to you." Now, just stop right there for a second and say, okay, Jesus is going to give a new command. So this is going to be something we've never heard before, right? And then he says, that you love one another. Now, before he can finish that sentence, you have to be thinking, well, wait a minute. That's not a new command. That's an old command. That's what the Jews would consider. They knew that that was the greatest command from Deuteronomy. I mean, all those Pharisees walking around with those goofy-looking little boxes on their head and on their wrist, they pull out a little piece of paper, and that's what it said on it. To love your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and body. Love your neighbor as yourself. Those things were included on that. But then he adds something that changes the commandment, takes it to the next level. That you love one another, not the way you've always thought about this commandment, but like this: even as I have loved you, that you also love one another. That's the new part of the commandment. Jesus redefined what it means to love one another. He said, love the way I've loved. Well, how did Jesus love? Well, Jesus' love is best described as just self-sacrifice. And there's three different ways that we all together self-sacrifice in order to fulfill this greatest command. Like all the missions that we take part in, they're all about fulfilling this greatest command. There's more to these, but here are the big three self-sacrifices. The first one is time. A sacrifice of the time that it takes to plan the trip, to raise money for the trip, to coordinate everybody's passports, to fill out all the legal paperwork that we have to do, to coordinate the air travel, to dot all the I's and cross all the T's takes a tremendous amount of time to just make the plans. You know, our group got together and we all went to Wichita one night, and we went together and we bought all those soccer balls. We went to Mardell and we bought a bunch of stuff there. And it takes time to do all those things, you know, and time to plan. And, of course, whenever you give time to something, you're also taking time away from something else. So a lot of sacrifice goes into the giving of your time. There's a lot of sacrifice in these trips when it comes to money. I mean, we could not pull these trips off without the donations that are given, the fundraising that we do in order for the trips to happen. And it is no small sacrifice for any of us to give our money to things like this. But we do that because it's a part of what you would do when you sacrificially love someone. Is you give your time, you give your money, and it doesn't bother you to do so when it's done out of love. And lastly, for so many of us that go on the trip, the greatest sacrifice that I feel like we give on this trip, when those of us who physically make the trip, is a sacrifice of our comfort. Basically, from the moment we get on that first plane until we get home, there's some level of discomfort going on. And the majority of the discomfort on our part just comes from the travel in general. But all those things are a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice for the families back home. A sacrifice and comfort of worrying about, we try not to worry, we try to pray instead, but worrying about your loved ones that are in another place that you have zero control over. And just the difficulty of, you know, Kendall having the kids all to herself all week long, you know, while I'm gone on the trip. So there's sacrifices of comfort on both sides. And but this is what we do. Now think about the Lord Jesus. Did Jesus sacrifice his time? Absolutely he did. Did he sacrifice his money? Well, Jesus kind of operated on a no money system, so it's kind of a different application with money. But did Jesus sacrifice his comfort? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think Jesus was different from every popular minister that the world has ever known in that, let's say he's the most influential person who's ever existed, but he never wrote a book. We can argue the Bible, but he didn't write it in the sense of, I'm saying he didn't say, okay, I'm getting popular in my ministry. I'm going to do what all popular ministers do. I'm going to write a book now. That's like the pathway to success. He didn't write a book. He didn't have any money, and he lived as a homeless man for the 3.5 years of his ministry. Yet, without doing all the things the world says a successful minister does, he had the most successful ministry the world has ever known. And his whole life was embodied by sacrifice because of his love for us. Next, the next verse tells us the result of loving like Jesus. Verse 35, Jesus says, when you do this new command, by this, when you love as I have loved you, by this all men will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. So our greatest demonstration, I've said it many times, our greatest demonstration of our love for God is the way that we love and treat other people. Love testifies to three things. Number one, it testifies to others. When others see you loving your brothers and sisters in Christ, that will testify to the world of who you are. It also testifies to your brothers and sisters who you are. To Jesus, when you love your neighbor as yourself, it testifies to whose you are. Jesus looks upon us in those situations when we love people who've done nothing to earn or deserve our love. They've done nothing to earn or deserve our love, just like we did nothing to earn or deserve Jesus' love. And Jesus says, those are mine. Those people are mine. And I know they're mine. You can tell they're mine because of the way they love other people. And lastly, it tells the world, love testifies to the world not only of who we are and whose we are, but who Jesus is. He says, you want people to see me? Start by loving people. If you want people to see who I am, you love them. You love your enemies. You love them, and you rejoice when they persecute you. And when you do that, that will be a testimony to who I am, because they rejected him too. They rejected the one who loved them the most. Our love testifies to all of these things. Very personally, I want to especially thank the church for all that you've done to support this mission and all that we continue to do. Along with any mission that we're engaged with, I want to be as engaged with it as possible. I want us to do as much as we can, as possible in this world, living by faith that we are, in the ways that we support the things we support, this is our way of testifying to the Lord Jesus. We are committed to fulfilling that great commission, Lord, to go to all the world and making disciples. Through this whole giant convoluted process, that's what it works out to, is making disciples of all nations. And we're glad that you all are a part of it. Hey, if there's anyone here today who has always wanted to join in following Jesus, but you've never done so, you can let your faith be known today before these witnesses. Jesus said, confess me before witnesses, I'll confess you before my Father in heaven. If there's any here today who's not confessed Jesus but wants to, has never put him on in baptism but wants to today, let today be the day that you do those things. If there's any way we can serve you this morning, ask yourself the question as we do the invitation: how is God calling you to participate